Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. I'm back. I'm back. I believe I know what the previous issue was, at least enough to operate. Yeah, so I'm just going to wait the minute and then I'll just go. I'll deal with the issue. And then after the live stream ends, I'll check it back. If there's anything important that got cut out, I'll say it in shorts and things like that. And just wait. Forgive me. All the saints. Ooh. All right. Let's go. Well, let's see. We have liftoff. We have liftoff. All right, I'm just going to go. Thank you again. Shimoge here once again. So, this is I Am a Spiritual Leader Continue. This will be part of a little series. I'm just going to continue where I left off in the previous live stream. View it as one. Just want to say two things about being a spiritual leader. First, and I said this before, I'll repeat this. This will be the connection point. There is no such thing as a spiritual leader who is the only person who can get a piece of information. There is no such thing as a spiritual leader who is the only person who can get a piece of information. That's just not possible for there to be only one person who can access one piece of information. I say this because there are a lot of cults in the world today, and quite frankly, most of them are commonly accepted. Things like, church denominations, and even, quite frankly, sometimes just people's social groups end up being cults because they end up being an abusive thought system. That abusive thought system has rigid and illogical pillars. A classic example of this is a church where all the congregants believe that their pastor is the only one who can talk to God. That doesn't make any sense. I bring this one up because in my ordeal, this has been used against me a lot. I'm someone who believes that spirits exist, which is very basic. Most people do. I've registered a viewer. Thank you very much. And I believe that I can communicate with spirits, but really so can everyone else. I think I'm better at doing it than most people, but I wouldn't say I'm the only one who could do it. And there are aspects of spiritual communication I'm not good at, and other people are. At the end of the day, talking to spirits is a group effort. And at the same time, spirituality does not exist independent of the physical, you see. So anything I talk about spiritually, I can show you the physical counterpart to it. And, if I'm not totally sure what the physical counterpart is, I'll be open. I'll just say right now the physical counterpart is my feeling about it. I'm looking for more evidence. But anyway, in my ordeal, especially dealing with my family, but other people, people have tried to say that I was crazy or mentally ill because I said I myself could talk to spirits. And I developed spiritual practices that were outside the realm of Christianity. Again, my family, they're messy, but they're full of a lot of crazy Christians, really. On my dad's side, Catholic, although a lot of them dabble into evangelical stuff. On my mom's side, a lot of Protestant and really evangelical stuff, right? So I've dealt with that, and I've dealt with some of this outside my family as well. And this is distressing because, one, a lot of them also behave secularly, which isn't consistent. A classic example is the individual Chima I've talked about, who does not always talk about Christianity, but when I was down, decided to use my lack of Christian belief and practice as a stick to beat me with. But this is a man who plays, this is a man old enough to be my father who plays a lot of video games. But a lot of these video games involve combat that is not moral. I'll just say it like that. So, again, that is generally out of the realm of Christianity. Combat that is not moral. Things like just pointless fighting. Let me say things like that. So you can't run around. Mind you, this is a grown man who's missed many life milestones, so he's not socially well adjusted. Run around telling people who are down that they're suffering because they weren't Christian when you're doing things that your average pastor would tell you God will punish you for. So anyway, things of that nature. And then also, there are people who, you know, tried to say that I was, especially my dad, Anthony Ebe, tried to say that I was unwell from a secular standpoint, and then mix that and also say that I was crazy and satanic from a Christian standpoint. But that doesn't make sense. Those two thought points do not align. So what am I saying? This is all characteristic of a cult mentality, right? And it's been weaponized against me. So I want that to go away in my personal circle, in my family. I mean, even if you don't associate with your family, they're still at least adjacent to your personal circle just because of lineage ties. And then in the whole world, I want that to go away. And when that goes away, spiritual leadership will be a lot better because there's no value to cult spiritual leadership. Let me put up another short. Thank you for all my viewers right now. So that's one thing I want to say. And then a second thing I want to say, I touched on it earlier. Let me just say it more clearly now. No proper spiritual leader has only spiritual goals. No proper spiritual leader has only spiritual goals. Why is that? Spirit depends on the physical, and spirit should manifest in the physical, right? I'm saying this because I want to redefine what it means to be a spiritual leader, and I also want you to understand me well, okay? I'm not a monk who's going to be out in the woods, okay? Just for context, my number one thing is playing soccer. My favorite thing to do is to play soccer and score a goal. I need to get back to doing that, but I'm working on it. So there's no way I'm going to do that. And my number one goal is to say ascend to heaven. That's a classic example. I'll use it. If your spiritual leader is just telling you my goal is to ascend to heaven, follow me, run away. That's not good. Anyway, those are my points for now. I'll go into this in more depth in the future. Let me just ride it out to the 10-minute mark. Then I'll go do something else. Let me give a mercy, a bonus piece of information. Let me think of a good one. I'll say play sports, play sports. They're good for your health and also social unity. Play sports, play sports. They're good for your health and social unity. We need to rediscover their full purpose. All right. Ooh. Man, I am tired. Today has been an eventful day. It's been a full day. Anyway. Expand, interesting. One thing I want to add, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again. I think we need to let go of our assumptions to a large extent, at least, about the origins of languages. For example, a lot of people assume that so-called ancient European languages would not have been spoken by black people at all. I think that's wrong. Language is kind of broken in the world today. I think to put it back together, we have to consider that certain elements of European languages are also part of African languages. At the same time, though, and I want to emphasize this, we absolutely cannot continue the trend of thinking that the languages spoken by black and African people today are not proper. Okay, when reforming black and African languages, you have to look at what's spoken today first, look at what's working, and then look at other elements. And I will say, when exploring language, it's highly unlikely that there is any proper language that will look in totality like, for example, English today. Okay, English is too extreme of a language. Anyway. Abunkai, Abunkai, Akarankai, Abumamahiyo, Aburunam Kanua, Aburunam Kanua, Abulu, 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 Abulu. Look at the worm, look at the lineage. Spend forever. Thank you very much. Please patronize my business, buy my art, buy my merchandise, subscribe, and donate. Share this with everyone you know. And please look after your loved ones. Thank you very much. One other thing I want to highlight, I put up a short yesterday about helping someone that I know in need. Please check it out. It's right here on Inquirer. Please check it out. Thank you very much.